We appreciate you taking the time to watch this brief tutorial in order to better understand the process of action research. My name is Erica Saito, and I am an assistant professor at National University, where I serve as a course lead in our Master's in SEL and our Master's in Education with an SEL emphasis. I'd like to share some tips and prompts to help you conceptualize action research within the classroom. This is not a comprehensive video, but a starting point to get you thinking and writing about participatory research. To start, what is action research? It is a systematic inquiry process that begins with an identified issue, taking informed action to address the issue, collecting information based on that informed action, then analyzing and reflecting upon the evidence. The process is cyclical, as it is a way to improve one's professional practice, thus making action research an ideal methodology for practicing educators. Before we start, it is important to note that if you engage in research that involves students, teachers, administrators, or other populations, you must receive written site administrator approval of your research project, as well as parent and child consent in writing for their individual approval. So if you are enrolled in or affiliated with an institution that has an institutional review board process, you must comply with their requirements. This may include completion of Collaborative Institutional Training Initiative or CITI training for human subject research and an application for exemption or approval from your institution's IRB. For more information about whether or not your project requires IRB approval, take a moment to use the tool located at the end of this presentation. Some of our previous ideas or misconceptions of research is that we should remain distant from our participants. However, in action research, you are part of the research. You, as the educator, play a critical role in identifying and understanding the issues you are seeing in your classroom or school site. Your positionality as an insider, as someone who is part of the research process, allows you to connect directly with your participants and understand the background and context for your study. So this leads to the following questions. Who are you? What is your role within the classroom? What about your role within the school? Are you new to the school, but perhaps not to the profession? Or maybe you just change grade levels or subject areas. Let us understand your context within this work. Jot down a few of the ways you are involved with your school. This can include your profession within the fields, committees that you serve on, grade levels or subject areas that you teach, or any other ways you identify in relation to the school. Write this information down, as it will be relevant later when writing your action research paper. Now that we know a little bit about who you are, think about your experiences as an educator. What do you identify as a realistic need in your classroom or school? It should be something that you have the authority to change or test out with your site administrator's approval. For example, you might notice the same 3 students participating in classroom discussions and want to find ways to increase student engagement for all of your students. Or perhaps you are just starting the school year and recognize the need to build student-teacher relations. Think about and write down a brainstorm list of current issues or areas of growth that you would like to see improve in your classroom or school. It can be something as simple as testing out a new strategy. If you don't have ideas right away, perhaps thinking about student and/or teacher behaviors, relationship building, achievement, or reflective practices on ways you can improve could be a good start. The areas you identify, along with a justified rationale, helps to develop into your problem statement that will eventually turn into your theory of action. Developing a central or driving research question may seem like an easy task, but it does take time. A research question helps center your topic, keeping in mind that you will answer this question through your data collection. Your research questions should include your identified area of growth and the strategy you are testing out. For example, if my area of growth is to increase student participation and my strategy is to include student self-assessments and check-ins, my research question would include something like, in what ways do student self-assessments and check-ins increase student participation in a middle school English language development classroom? Once an area of growth or issue is identified, it is important to turn to research and read about the topic. What does current research say about your selected topic? What are some of the theory to practice recommendations? Is there one that you would like to test or try out? This goes beyond an online search on the topic and turning towards peer-reviewed articles from well-established journals on recent literature within the past 5 years. For foundational primary source citations, the year of publication is not an issue. Start gathering articles on your topic and take notes as you read to help you create a literature review that synthesizes existing research and identifying a theoretical framework that aligns with your action research topic. For more information about literature reviews, check out the link at the end of this presentation. As teachers, school leaders, or staff, we are constantly collecting and analyzing data. Within a day, we are collecting and evaluating our students' homework, classwork, exit tickets, quizzes, benchmark assessments, behaviors, among other formative assessments. Other data sources can include grade books, attendance records, school-wide data, classroom observations, report cards, parent meetings. In other words, we're constantly surrounded by data. So what data do you currently have that helps inform or support your identified areas of growth? For example, if your identified area of growth is to increase class participation, is there a numerical way to keep track of participation to start? If not, that's okay. That could be part of your action. Relatedly, what does research say about increasing student participation? What are some research-based strategies that can be tested out to increase participation? Would something like daily or weekly student self-assessments or reflections on their class participation help? Based on the information you gathered through your literature and considering the types of data accessible to you that is related to your topic, what is the research-based strategy you would like to test out? Why is this a good strategy to use with your students? What do you hope to see as a result? Consider how long you plan to test the strategy out and the types of evidence you collect along the way to see if it is making a positive change. How will you track this change? Continuing with the example of student participation, examples of data being collected that connect directly to classroom engagement can include well-identified terms and expectations of what constitutes as participation. It could be defined collectively by students, then using a checklist to count the number of times a student participated within a set period of time, and having students write and reflect upon their opportunities to engage. Other possible data that could be collected include observation notes, journaling, or check-ins. Choosing 3 data sources would be ideal for triangulation. Now it is time to think about a good range to begin and end the data collection process. Be realistic with the time frame. This part is actually up to you, depending upon what you are examining. You can capture a moment in time by dropping in and collecting data from one day to help identify other areas of growth, or look at development over a period of time, which could take several weeks or even months. Pause and think about the types of classroom data you can collect from your students to address the area of growth and action or strategy you identified. Make a list of the possible types of data you can use from your classroom. Then I recommend creating a timeline to help you understand and organize what you are collecting, when you are collecting it, and why you are collecting it. Remember, the data you collect should ultimately help you answer your research question. Once you reach the point where you have completed collecting classroom data, based on your plan for data collection, you might ask, what do I do now? Well, we need to take a deeper dive into analyzing the data. This is where we look at our data and find patterns or trends. This is where we also put our results into writing and share the data using tables or figures to clearly lay out our results. You will want to showcase what you learned. How do the results help inform your practice? What do the results tell you about the strategy you implemented? Is it working? What are some surprises that came out of the data? Based on the results you have discovered and your analysis of what these results mean to your instructional or administrative practices, what do you plan to do next? How can these results be shared with the greater school community, as well as other educators and schools? Provide purpose to your work. Think about what you can do with these results. Yes, you can improve your own teaching practices, but how can this information help others? Consider presenting your work to your grade level, your department, all faculty, school, district, or even an educational conference or journal. Now that you have completed your action research, you're ready to prepare a draft of your work. The following bullet points outline the components needed in a publishable article. The underlined bullet points are the pieces we reference in this video. I urge you to seek additional references in pursuing a full action research paper. Remember, this video is just a starting point. Thank you for joining me today in this introductory video on action research. I hope it has inspired you to take time in considering the ways you are already making actionable change in your classrooms and schools. Issues in teacher education would like to see practitioner contributions, and I hope to see your work in our journals soon. For questions or information about issues in teacher education journal, email us at editor@itejournal.org or check out our website at itejournal.org to read the latest call for proposals, read our current issue, or register as a reviewer. Thank you again for joining us.